We're gonna talk a little bit about tempo. This is probably the most underrated aspect to working out that you don't hear mentioned often enough. So the tempo of an exercise is literally the duration that it takes to complete a rep. So for example, if you see me do a squat like this, that's about 1 second down, 1 second up, maybe even a little bit faster than that. But we can break down tempo to focus on certain parts of the movement. So what we break tempo down into is 4 numbers. The first number is the eccentric portion of the movement. It's usually the way down of an exercise, and think of it as the muscles being loaded with tension and stretched. So that would be this. The second number is the duration of time that you spend at the bottom position. So the first number was eccentric. Now I'm in the bottom position. So if I have a 0, that means there's no time spent at the bottom at all. It's down and then up right away. But there are times where you might want to focus on an isometric at that bottom, so you really learn how to produce strength and power in that bottom stretched position. And if that's the case, you might do a 2 or 3 second pause at the bottom. The third number is the concentric portion, which is the way up. So this is the way down, the eccentric. This is the second number. And then now the third number is how long I want it to take on the way up. Now the fourth number is just how long you stay at the top for. It's generally best to spend as little time as possible at the top so you maintain more tension on the muscle with less of a break. However, if you're in a pure strength training phase, you usually want a second at the top so you can take a deep breath, re-brace everything, focus on the muscles that you want to contract and how hard you have to push, and then complete your rep. Now I'll give you a couple examples of when we would actually use different tempos. A pretty standard tempo for almost any type of exercise would be 4 seconds on the way down. So the first number would be 4. This is so that you get tension on the muscle and you can really focus. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then maybe a 1 second or 0 second pause at the bottom. And then 1 second on the way up. That's because we want a strong contraction on the way up. A lot of people tend to ignore the eccentric part. You'll see a lot of people just going like that, and that means that they're missing half of the rep. We still want to be able to have tension on the way down for almost every sort of attribute. The only time that you wouldn't is some sort of specific plyometrics where you want to be able to use your muscles' elasticity. But for the general goal of most people, the more tension you can put on that muscle, the better. So you really want to control that way down for the most part. So again, we'll think 4 seconds on the way down, so you still get muscle tension and control, then maybe a 1 second pause at the bottom where you're still keeping everything tight, you're still contracting your muscles, you're not just hanging out loose like this, and then 1 second strong on the way up. So that would look like 4, 1, 1, 1. 4 seconds on the way down, 1 second pause at the bottom, 1 second on the way up, and then 1 second at the top to take your breath and do it again. Now the plyometric example is quite the opposite. You might see a 0 or a 1 or an X. X would be explosive. 0 also just means spend as little time as possible. So that might look like 1 second on the way down, 0 second at the bottom, 0 or an X on the way up, and then 0 at the top. And that would look something like this. Anyways, those are just 2 examples of how you can change your tempo. You can play around with these numbers however you want. If you want a longer pause at the bottom, go for it. If you want to throw a pause in the middle, go for it as well, as long as you're still creating tension on those muscles. Quick little math example as well. If you have 3 sets of 10 reps, but you do a tempo of 1, 1, 1, 1 versus a tempo of 4, 1, 1, 1, all of a sudden you have so much more time under tension on that muscle in the second one than you do on the first one. So of course you're gonna get better results with that second tempo. Anyways, guys, that's just a couple examples of how manipulating tempo is super important in your training, and it's one variable that you can change up if you only have one set of dumbbells and you want to get a different stimulus. Reach out to us at clearcutfitness on social media, Instagram or Facebook, or hit us up in our emails, info@clearcut-fitness.com.